So everybody is talking about this. Donald Trump's hand, and clearly his hand has makeup on it, makeup that doesn't match the rest of his hand. And they're talking about that bump, and they're speculating on what could be wrong health-wise with Donald Trump. They're talking about this, and they're talking about Donald Trump's cankles and speculating on what could be wrong with Donald Trump medically. I don't understand why nobody's talking about this right here, that little, see it right there? Ugh. Anywho, the man is 80 years old, 80 years plus maybe at this point. He's an old man. I expect for him to be dealing with some medical issues, right? But while they're talking about this, I'm looking at this.
So those three buckets are where we're going, and President Trump is leading the charge on that, and we're very excited. $16 trillion in investment dollars coming into America. So
He's sleeping. He's representing the United States at whatever meeting this is, and he's sleeping. He's sleeping. He's sleeping. And then he goes on to open his mouth, and he says this.
And I have to brag just for a second, because when I first heard about AI, it's not my thing. Although my uncle was at MIT, one of the great professors, 51 years, whatever. He was the longest serving professor in the history of MIT, 3 degrees in nuclear, chemical, and math. That's a smart man. Kaczynski was one of his students. Do you know who Kaczynski was? There's very little difference between a madman and a genius. But Kaczynski, I said, what kind of a student was he, Uncle John, Dr. John Trump? He said, what kind of a student? And he said, seriously good. He said he'd go around correcting everybody, but it didn't work out too well for him. Didn't work out too well, but it's interesting in life. But I will say this, that...
Now, both videos are viral. And the sleepy time video, I can understand why that's viral. I didn't understand why the second video was viral with him talking about his uncle. He's talked about his uncle being at MIT before. Side note, I want to say his uncle may have been smart, but that didn't pass down to Donald Trump. And so the other part of that story that he's telling is about Ted Kaczynski. Ted Kaczynski is the Unabomber, right? And so I'm like, well, what's going on? So I go on over to Alfred, and I put in the Alfred, why is the video about Donald Trump talking about his uncle at MIT and telling a story about Ted Kaczynski? Why is this viral? And so Alfred comes back and says, it's viral because it's not true. And so, Alfred breaks it down. Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, did not go to MIT where Donald Trump's uncle taught. Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, went to Harvard. He enrolled at the age of 16 in 1958. He graduated in 1962. I know you're saying, well, Tabitha, he could have went on for another type of degree. You're right. And Alfred said he also went to the University of Michigan and completed a master's degree program from 1964 to 1967. He did not attend MIT. And Donald Trump is sitting up there lying, saying that Ted Kaczynski was a student of his uncle at MIT. Telling a whole fabricated, exaggerated lie. Donald Trump's uncle joined MIT as faculty in 1936. He retired in 1973. Donald Trump is sitting up on that stage, bold-faced lying. That's what I'm looking at. Yeah, everybody, I'm not saying that the Cankles and whatever's going on with the hand, whatever he's going through to cause that, I'm not saying that that's not important. But what I am saying is that him falling asleep and telling this lie, that's also important. And combined, you combine all of that, I want to know why I don't hear Jake Tapper talking about Donald Trump's incompetence. I want to know why I don't hear Jake Tapper talking about Donald Trump facing dementia. I want to know why I don't hear the Young Turks talking about this. They dragged Joe Biden for his health, but they ain't got nothing to say about Donald Trump. MAGA nuts, you ain't got nothing to say. You're not concerned that something is happening with your MAGA nut king? You're not concerned? You talked about Joe Biden's health. You ain't got nothing to say about this. Well, we do. Somebody need to ask some questions. The Trump administration or the Trump regime needs to come clean with what's truly going on with Donald Trump.